While there's something to be said for staying on the sunny side of life, sometimes life sucks. And the healthiest thing that you can do is to admit. Sometimes things go wrong. People upset us, accidents happen. You can't find a job. You lose a job. You lose a loved one. People hurt us. Pretending everything is okay when it's not doesn't help us. It only prolongs our suffering. When we try to fit in a world that constantly tells us, be happy, be positive, be strong, even when the pain is tearing us from the inside, doesn't help us. It only deepens our wounds. After this episode, I want you guys to understand that it's okay to be real. It's okay to fail. It's okay not to be okay. Life has taught me that my worth isn't something that I have to hustle for. My worth is found in walking fully inside my own story, embracing it, messiness, all its beauty. Because when you own your story, you own your worth. And that makes you truly, truly unstoppable. Hey guys, welcome back to another classic episode of Becoming Better at Humanity. If you're new here, my name is Judith and I use my life lessons to train people to get into their own greatness. Wherever you are, wherever you are, whatever it is that you're engaged in, I am back to remind you that you have greatness in you. Yes, you have the ability to do more than you can imagine or even begin to imagine. So please quit playing with your potential. So I welcome you guys to listen, learn, and grow. So on today's episode, I want us to talk about walking inside of our story and owning it. I want us to talk about this is in relation to embracing our emotions. I want us to understand why our emotions are not our enemies and they are part of our story. And our story is worth telling. So I have titled this episode, Why You Need to Stop Hating Yourself for Feeling So Bad. So let's say you've got an anger problem. Trust me, I know what that feels like. Kisses and mirrors in the house. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm Casey, so I'm making fun of my tribe, and people say that mirrors are the people who also have anger issues. But I don't believe in what people think or say. I believe each individual was created in their own unique way, so stop putting it out on a particular tribe. So let's say you've got anger issues. Says I understand you guys, because for those who have anger issues, because I have been there. 2 years ago, there was a time when, it's 2 years ago, 2 or 3. Yeah. There was a time when anger seemed to be my constant companion. We were besties. And find myself boiling over the most insane, the little, most insignificant, the most useless things. Imagine something as minor as a careless driver cutting me off in traffic. That was enough for me to scream. That was enough for my world to stand still. A misplaced word in a conversation, ngori. A pen running out of ink. Ngori. That was an issue. Imagine something like even slow internet connection. I could scream. I could scream. It was almost like I was always on the edge, ready to snap at any moment. And imagine the crazy part is, I never understood why it bothered me so much. But the fact that I got so pissed off so easily could suddenly piss me off. And then I could shout and shout and shout. I didn't even care where I was who I was shouting at. But it bothered me so much. And it was like this unending cycle of rage that left me drained. It was a cycle that left me drained and frustrated with no clue on how to break free. And then, guys, in my petty rage, because I'm an overthinker, I get myself thinking, really? But see, this getting angry all the time makes me a mean and shallow person. And I hated that. I hated it so much that I could get angry at being angry. Can you imagine the sanity of that? You're angry, and then you get angry at yourself at being angry. Can you imagine the sanity of that? But here's the kicker. That anger was really just a mask. It was a mask that hid things that were deep, things far more terrifying, things that I was trying to avoid. Let me tell you guys, anger is not a good thing. Even the Bible says that those that we need to work as Christians, we need to really work on our anger issues. Anger is a powerful emotion. It can take over your mind and body in an instant, and then you feel like you want to explode. But if there's one thing I have come to learn, this anger is rarely just about anger. It's often a mask. It's hiding things that are terrifying, guys, deeper issues. It could be things like insecurity issues, whereby you feel that you're not good enough, you're not successful enough, you're not smart enough. Or maybe it's things like fear. You have that fear of failure, or you fear that fear of being judged. Yeah. Or perhaps it's sadness. Sadness about unmet expectations. Sadness about broken dreams. Sadness about unresolved pain from the past. I came to learn this when I was going through Bible school. I am in the Kingdom Academy. So there's a topic called Wounded Lions Need Healing. When I went through that course, I realized that most of the time we get so angry because there's unresolved pain from the past. And for me, the constant anger that I was feeling wasn't just because. I normally tell my friends, they can attest to that. Nimetoka mbali. My siblings watakwambia Judith ametoka mbali. And me being a leader, nimetoka mbali. My employees can attest to that. Nimetoka mbali. So, the truth of the matter is I was facing things. I've told you that this anger is always about, it's a mask that hides things that are so deep and far more terrifying. Guys, I was scared. I was scared of failing. I was scared of not being in control, whereby you feel like you're afraid that you're losing control. You're afraid that you don't have everything on top. You're not on top of everything. And the fact that especially in academics, I felt that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. So instead of facing these things that truly scared me, I buried myself under layers of anger. Yeah. It was easier for me to get mad at everyone else. It was easier for me to get mad at the world than to admit that I felt inadequate, than to admit that I never got everything together all the time, than to admit that I was struggling to fit in, to live up to people's expectations and even my own. So each time I fell short, that anger could flare up, and the anger was my defense mechanism. It was a way to protect myself from the vulnerability of admitting that I was afraid. Yeah. And I have come to learn that I wasn't alone in this. That is what most of us do. We lash out in anger, bury ourselves in anxiety and worry. We get irritated over little things. It's easier for us to get mad than to face the things that truly scare us. It's easier for us to get mad than to admit that we feel inadequate. So feeling inadequate, admitting inadequacy, admitting failure feels like admitting defeat. So what do? We put on that mask. We put on that brave face. We keep pushing forward, even when it's tearing us from the inside. How sad, right? So no matter how hard I tried to put on that mask, no matter how hard I tried to pretend that everything was okay when it was not, it's never made me feel any better. In fact, it made me feel worse. The more I lashed out of anger, the more I got irritated over little things, and the more I hated myself for feeling so bad. It was a vicious cycle, one that left me frustrated, one that left me drained, one that left me in a position I'm like, how do I break free? Yeah. One other thing that we always do is putting on that mask of positivity. I have come to learn that is what most of us do. We put on that facade of positivity. I was reading a book. There's a book that I have been, there's a book you guys have read, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. An awesome, awesome, awesome book. If you haven't read it, you better go read it. Written by Mark. Mark talks about how we pretend to be positive. We put on that facade of positivity even if we are hurting from the inside, because we think that is what we are supposed to do. There's something he wrote that really got my attention. Mark talks about that while it is something to be said for staying on the sunny side of life, sometimes life sucks. And the healthiest thing we can do is to admit. Mark says that sometimes shit happens. People upset us. Accidents happen. Things go wrong. And the healthiest thing you can do is to admit. Like, it's okay. So instead of pretending that things are okay when they are not, when you are in that place where things are not working out, the healthiest thing you can do is to admit, now this is my situation. I made a mistake. I screwed up. This is my situation and I need to make the best out of it. There's a difference between getting to that place of acknowledging that you made a mistake, taking accountability, and then trying to work things, trying to learn or picking the lesson and moving forward, than just trying to admit that, yeah, things are going wrong and then you're there seated convincing yourself. That's lying to yourself. It doesn't get any better. So for me to get to rise above the anger, these are some of the issues that I needed to address. I needed to address that, yes, I'm wounded. Yes, I have this. I am inadequate in this. And there's something, there are things that I need to figure out. Yeah. Pretending that things are okay when they are not. Pretending that you're doing well when you're not. Pretending to be okay when you're not okay doesn't make things any better. In fact, it makes things worse. If you guys those guys who have followed me for some time, those guys who already know me from since I started content creation, then you already know that I'm a business person. I run a traveler's hotel, and that business comes with a lot of responsibilities. It needs for someone to have a lot of patience, especially with customers, and then you need a lot of grace to deal with your employees. You're working with adults, and if there's something I have come to learn, it can be so hard managing adults. So you need a lot of grace, and you also need a lot of patience. One other thing is that this industry has a lot of challenges. It has a lot of ups and downs. And there are days where you have good days, everything is going so well. And then there are days where everything seems to go wrong. But again, I suppose that's what that goes on in every sector or in every occupation. So I remember there was a day where I woke up and everything seemed to go wrong. I woke up so late. I normally have a morning routine, and before I get out of my house, there are things that I have to do before I leave the house. I call them my morning rituals. So if I don't get to do that, if I don't get to do my morning routine, then I know that my day is ruined. I cannot exactly remember what happened, but I remember waking up so late. So there are things that I need to do at work. I walked through the morning. By the time I arrived to work, I was already stressed. You see, when everything seems to go wrong in a day, everyone disgusts you, nothing makes sense, and you're moody. So getting to work, the orders were piling up. The kitchen was a mess. I looked around. Everything just looked disgusting. And my patience was running thin. So I remember a waitress who had been working with us for months made a mistake with an order. And then there was a customer who was complaining and even shouting, and what is wrong with you? Like shouting and shouting, you know how you guys behave when you're in a restaurant. I'm just kidding. But the customer was complaining, and that normally it wouldn't be a big deal, because handling these complaints, I know you need a lot of wisdom to do it. So it wouldn't be a big deal. But that moment, it was my last straw. Without thinking, I shouted at the waiter in front of the whole staff before all those customers who were seated in the restaurant. I shouted, guys. I screamed. I literally screamed. Then I was not even looking at the waiter, and at the time I think I was not fully myself, because I never even for a second stopped to think, these are customers who are seated here. Why am I screaming? And looking at the waitress, the look on her face, there was shock on her face. Then I saw tears coming out of her little eyes. Embarrassment hit me instantly. But I pushed it aside. I was justified in my anger after all. I had a business to run, and mistakes weren't acceptable. So the waiter left, and I stood there. Everyone was looking at me. Then I saw a regular customer who was just seated somewhere in a corner, came towards me. I thought it was something to do with his order. Maybe the order had delayed, or it was something to do with his mouth. So when I'm trying to explain myself, what's up? How can I help? He looked at me straight to the eye and said, "Madam, was that necessary? How would you do that in front of the whole staff? Look at those customers. Was that necessary?" I was looking at him the entire time. "With all due respect, madam," he continued, "you really need to work on yourself. You have anger issues, and you really need to work on yourself. You cannot let this anger control you. I have been a regular customer, and this is not the first time that I'm seeing this reaction from you. You need to rise above it. You cannot let this anger destroy you like this. What are you doing? You have a whole damn business to run. Anyway, I wish you well." Then he walked away. Oh my God, guys. Those words cut deep. I was taken aback. I felt exposed, like he had seen something in me that I had been ignoring for such a long time. I collected myself, went straight to my office, and I sat down, and let me tell you guys, I cried oceans. I have never cried like that before. I cried oceans. I had humiliated my employee in front of their peers, in front of the customers, because of my outburst. I had lost a customer, a loyal customer who was quite supportive to my business. So that day was not just a bad day. I had lost not just my temper, I had lost trust. Who would trust an employee like that? An employer like that? Sorry. I had lost respect. Who is this person who cannot control themselves? Who cannot control their anger? This was not their bedroom more. And I had lost future sales. I was not sure if that customer could come back to that restaurant again. I wasn't sure if those customers would trust me with their meals. Again, I had lost future sales. Oh my God. That is the very minute that my eyes were opened. Yes, I didn't want to be this person anymore. No, who is this person? I didn't want to be this person anymore. Something had to change. I didn't want to be the employer who lashed out, a leader who ruled with anger. Something had to change. And I tell you guys, that realization changed everything for me. That is where I got my life lesson. I knew that if I didn't control these deeper issues, the anger, the frustration, the fear, the need to be in control, then I would stay trapped in this destructive cycle forever. That if I didn't find a way to control this anger, then I would stay in this vicious cycle forever. I needed to find a way. Like, I learned that real change happens when you confront these issues, these deeper issues, these wounds. And I knew that I needed that real change that very instant. I didn't want to be this person anymore. And let me tell you guys, it was, you see that decision that you make and you don't want to look back again? That is the decision I made that instant. And slowly, let me tell you guys, slowly by slowly, that is how I began to rise above the anger. Trust me, you can ask my friends, they can attest to that. The employees that I'm working with currently, they can attest to that. I said no. And let me tell you, if there's something I have come to learn, guys, if you decide that you want to do something, you will do it. But if you don't want to do something, you will always find an excuse. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I was desperate for change. I wanted to grow as a leader. I wanted to grow as a person. That moment taught me that anger wasn't my real enemy. It was a signal that was pointing me towards the issues, the deeper issues that I needed to deal with. And that is what I talked. That is what, when we started, I said that anger is rarely just about anger. It's often a mask. It's a mask. It's a mask, guys. I desperately wanted to grow as a person and as a leader. So I made a commitment to stop hating myself for feeling so bad. To stop pretending that everything was okay when it was not. I made a commitment to start dealing with the real issues, to getting to the root cause of anything and solving it head on. I made a commitment to start embracing and owning my emotions. I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be a better human. So I can tell you that day taught me a valuable lesson. And this is what I'm sharing with you today, guys. That when we avoid these issues, when we avoid this suffering, when we put on that mask, when we pretend everything is okay when it's not, when we pretend to be positive, when the pain is tearing us from the inside, then it prolongs the suffering. Real change happens when you handle, or when you face your issues, your problems, your emotions head on. Real change happens when you stop letting the anger control you. When you decide that you want to learn from it. What I needed to ask myself at the point, why am I so angry? That is a question that you need to ask yourself. Why are you so angry? What are you afraid of? And that is when I began to rise from this fear, from this frustration. I made a choice, guys. I made a choice. I made a choice. I chose to stop running from my emotions and to start embracing them. I made a choice that I could ask myself the tough questions, the hard questions. Why am I angry? What am I afraid of? So I made a commitment that instead of pretending everything was okay when it was not, I was ready to face. I was ready to admit that this is my situation, and I will learn from it. And as soon as you decide, as soon as you commit to doing the right thing, the sooner I have come to learn that you will break from that destructive cycle and step into the peace and strength that comes from knowing and owning your emotions. And I can tell you guys that that day, that was a very important day for me. A very, very, very important day for me. That's why I am seated here sharing this life lesson. And slowly, as I began to control these fears, the anger began to lose its grip on me. And slowly, as I began to control those fears, that anger began to lose its grip on me. I realized that by embracing my emotions, by owning my flaws, my struggles, and my experiences, I was taking the first step toward true happiness. I was getting to that place that I wanted to be. I was becoming a better human. So I want to end this conversation here, and I want to end with words by Brené Brown, whereby Brené says that you either walk inside your own story and own it, or you walk outside of your own story and hustle for your worthiness. Powerful words right there, which simply means that when we deny ourselves, or when we avoid our emotions, be it anger, frustration, fear, failure, when we deny ourselves the opportunity to feel, the opportunity to cry, the opportunity to be human, then we are standing outside of our own story, hustling for external validation to feel worthy. But when we walk inside of our story, it means that we are embracing everything about our journey, the good, the bad, the painful, all of it. We are recognizing that our emotions are fires that forge our strength. And if they don't break us, they build us. We are recognizing that our emotions are part of our story, and our story is worth telling. Yeah. If there is something that life has taught me, guys, that the avoidance of suffering. When you avoid suffering, when you don't want to feel the pain, when you put on that mask, the avoidance of suffering is a form of suffering. The avoidance of struggle is itself a struggle. Yes. Yes. When we try to run away from our pain, when we want to fit in a world that constantly tells us to be positive, to be strong, to be happy, and to keep moving forward, even when the pain we are feeling from the inside is tearing us apart, doesn't help us. It only prolongs our suffering and deepens our wounds. You go on social media, what you see are perfect pictures of couples, perfect pictures of success. And then you think that that is how we are supposed to be. People are telling you you're going through something, and people are telling you be positive, be happy, when it's tearing you from the inside. As a man, you're being told don't cry. Men are not supposed to cry. Yeah. That only prolongs our suffering. It deepens the wounds within ourselves. But when we confront our emotions head on, understanding that it's okay to be real, it's okay to fail, it's okay not to be okay. We have said that sometimes things go wrong, life happens, accidents happen, people upset us, and then someone tells you not to fail. Really? And then someone tells you don't cry because you're a man, you've been hurt. And then someone tells you that you're not supposed to cry because you're a man, that you're supposed to be positive. You have lost a loved one, then someone tells you be positive. Really? When we allow ourselves to feel without judgment, that is when we begin to heal. That is when we rise. That is when we begin to rise. Your worth, guys, your worth isn't determined by being perfect or having everything together all the time. No, your worth is determined by embracing your emotions, your struggles, your pain, your flaws, and all. Life has taught me, guys, that my worth isn't something that I have to hustle for. It's found, my worth is determined by walking inside my own story, embracing all its messiness and beauty, by understanding that these emotions are part of the beauty of being human. And if they don't break me, they build me. Yo, these things are supposed to happen to build you. They don't define you. They only refine you. They're meant to refine you. So, how do you rise above the self-hate? How do you rise above? How do you stop hating yourself for feeling so bad? You do it by walking inside your story, by embracing your emotions. The fear, the struggle, the pain, the fear, the frustration. You do it by understanding that these things don't define you. They refine you. If they don't break you, they build you. So embrace your emotions with all its highs and lows, its joys and sorrows. Embrace them. Accept, allow yourself to feel, to be real, and to be human. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are your allies. They are to build you, to teach you, and to help you grow. Let me tell you, guys, when we allow ourselves to feel, to be human, we unlock a new level of freedom. Freedom to be real, freedom to be human, and freedom to be the unstoppable human beings to be the unstoppable force that we are meant to be. So the next time you find yourself experiencing pain, or you find yourself struggling, remember that it's not the end of your story. You're not going to die the next minute. I want you to remember with gladness that that is a new chapter in the making. And it's there not to define you, but to refine you. And if it doesn't break you, it builds you. I want you to embrace your emotions. Take them as they are refining you to be that force that you are meant to be. So rise above the self-hate. Embrace your emotions and let them lead you to the greatness that lies within you. Because when you embrace your emotions, when you own your story, you own your worth. And that makes you truly unstoppable. Yes, that makes you truly unstoppable. That's what I had for today, guys. Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time. Thank you so much for your love and support. For the new subscribers, karibu sana, we love you here. For the returning subscribers, oh my gosh, you guys are my family. And I love you so much. So much. May you never lack. And for those who haven't subscribed, please go subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out each time I post a video. Yes. Like, comment. Let me know what you want us to share in the next video, what you want us to talk about in the next video. And until next time, have a glorious and an inspiring time. And before I forget, this is an episode that was requested by a friend, Winnie, and I'm glad it's benefiting all of us. And I'm glad I had to use my own story to inspire or to pass out a message. So I love you guys, and until next time, have a glorious and an inspiring time. See you.